Okay, some of my friends thought it'd be kind of funny if I did one of my weekly informational videos in the style of a viral TikTok video. So here I am in the bathroom. I'm holding a random household object. I'm staring at my phone and not at you until eventually I put my leg up on the counter. I zoom in, finally make eye contact and say, "Welcome to week 3. Hey guys, sorry, I'm a bit of a dork, but you probably already knew that because I teach computer science. Anyway, and if you've never been on TikTok, you're probably smarter than the rest of us, but you also didn't get that joke at all. Week 3 is going to be all about control structures in your program, right? You've gotten some basic expressions, some basic lines of code. You know how to get input from a user. You know how to provide output to the user. But now we're going to start playing with the order in which we do things. We're going to talk about branches and loops. So branches, I say branches, I can't remember what the exploration calls them, if statements, right? If this, do this, otherwise do this other thing. The way you branch stuff out is honestly, it's just like you're going to different parts of code, which is the same thing you do with a loop. The only difference is with a loop, you go back to the earlier code and repeat stuff. And so those control structures are really similar, and they use a similar mechanism in order to determine whether or not you should go down a particular branch or whether or not you should repeat the code that you just did. And those are conditional statements. So these conditional statements are just expressions that get logically, evaluated to be either true or false. So in the same, last week we did expressions. 2 plus 3 is an expression. It has a numerical value, right? When you're done, 2 plus 3 is 5. It's an integer. Conditionals generally have a Boolean value that they evaluate to, true or false. So 2 less than 3, right? That doesn't have a numeric answer. 2 less than 3 has a logical answer. It has the answer true, right? Because 2 is less than 3. And so that's what these conditionals do. Basically, if the conditional evaluates to true, I either go down that particular branch. If 2 is less than 3, print this out, right? Well, that's always going to be true, so that's a pretty bad example. But maybe I look at a variable that could change, and I determine whether or not it's less than 3, and then I make a decision based on that, right? Same thing with loops. I get to a loop, I should repeat this so long as, this number is less than 100, right? I'm going to continue to do this loop. Whatever that is, you're going to find those conditionals used for both of those sort of control structures. And that's basically this week. It's figuring out how to write those branches and loops and use those conditional expressions in order to get the effect that you want with your code. Conditionals and branches, this is kind of where we begin to actually start programming, where we're thinking about the flow of code. And as much as you can when you look at your code, and the nice thing about Python is going to enforce the proper indentation. So you know what's inside the loop and what's outside the loop. You know what's inside that particular branch versus another branch. If you can picture the way that sort of the control is flowing in the program, that's going to be helpful. Yeah, your assignment this week, also fun. Dead bodies last week. I guess this is just a continuation of it. We're going to look at zombie epidemiology. See, this is for non-computer science majors. Some of you may actually have some background in medicine and know that I'm saying that word probably wrong. Regardless, we're going to be looking at what happens to a population as zombies begin to bite 10% of the non-zombie population and how that grows over time. And there's also an extra credit assignment, another one of those team challenges if you want to check it out. It's all about just basically you're putting in words to sort of represent things that your dog is doing, and then it keeps track of how many times your dog has done each of those things, and then eventually you end with an app and then it prints out the results. Both are going to be using loops as well as branches. So for last week we were looking at the dead body temperature over time. Some people were having some questions about that. So there were some issues with the script that actually runs the unit test for that. So basically, worry about you know, what you get back from Gradescope, but also know that like I, as a human being, I'm going to be looking at those, or maybe the TA as well. And so we'll be looking at those and trying to determine, like, basically, should you have been deducted points. And also the points were off. So 60 is actually full credit. You're not losing 10 points. It's just somebody didn't weight the last test as 20. I could make the changes to the script, but I'm nervous to touch anything in Gradescope while people are submitting for that assignment. So I'm going to just grade it with my own human eyes and my human reasoning. And then when that's done, and those grades are safely in Canvas and you've gotten credit, then I'll go back and change the script and potentially ruin everything. Hopefully you guys are having a great week, and yeah, I will see you online.